All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. And those who are watching online, thank you so very much for your time and patience. My name is Jordan Robinson. I am the curator for this event as well as the project overall. I would like to thank C4 Atlanta for all their hard work. They are the sponsor of this event. They are a nonprofit 501c3 organization that's a arts organization that serves the individual artists within the local Atlanta community, and they do this through a variety of resources and services. Many of the representatives are in the crowd tonight, so I'd like to say thank you for coming and for helping me manage this. I would also like to give special thank you to both the Woodruff Arts Center and the Alliance Theater for all the help that they've done along the process. I would like to ask for everyone to please silence your electronics. Don't turn them off. We would love to have anybody take photos, live tweets, anything on social media, as well as online. For anybody posting this on Facebook, Twitter, or anything else, please use the following hashtags. Come to Selfhood, hashtag come to Selfhood, hashtag after Selma, hashtag Joshua Rashaad. You can follow Rashaad at Joshua Rashaad. And you can also follow JTR Presents as well. After the presentation, the floor will be open for questions and answers. And for those who are watching, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments section on YouTube, and we will read them out and have those addressed as well. Now, facilitating the conversation tonight, I'm honored to present Michael Wynn, who is the Community Engagement Manager for the Alliance Theater. And now, thank you, thank you. And now, I wish to present the man of the hour. Joshua Rashaad McFadden, born in Rochester, New York, McFadden has become an advocate for social justice and civil rights through his community organizing and photography work. McFadden is now an Atlanta-based artist, and he also has recently become Lens Culture's top 50 emerging artists within the world. Thank you. He has won multiple awards, such as Best in Show for the Mozambique exhibition in Brixton, London, and that was for the first collection he had made called Colorism. And then he also won first place in the social justice category for the International Photography Awards recently. Colorism was also exhibited at the Atlanta Beltline as well, and it was there for about half a year. Now, for Colorism, which again won Best in Show, is an exhibition, or was exhibited here already, and his recent work is Come to Selfhood. Now, Come to Selfhood, he just published the book, and he will begin selling in September. We're currently taking pre-orders. Well, he is currently taking pre-orders, and if you wish to order at the end of this event, we have a table in the back where you had signed in earlier to sign up and order. Now, about his work. For Colorism each body of work that he has done addresses a particular issue within the African American community and inside the multifaceted African American culture. Even though these events are specific, they are also relatable to people of all cultures and backgrounds, such as colorism. The idea of associating color with aspects of beauty contributes to the more arbitrary standards of beauty as well. And then after Selma, which relates to a reflection of the civil rights movement in the 60s, as well as the Black Lives Matter movement of today. And then his recent works for Come to Selfhood challenges and also forms different aspects of what is the ideal masculine black male image. So, without further ado, Josh has done all of this by the age of 25, and this year he has been named as Atlanta Celebrates Photography, and he is part of the Ones to Watch list from this organization. He has a high bar of expectations and standards with his work, and without further ado, I present to you Joshua Rashaad McFadden. Let's turn that down. Oh, no, we're good. We're fine. Hi, everybody. Okay. Let's
2 mics. I'll stand here. Can you hear me? Yes. Oh, great. Well, thank you guys for having me again. I am very honored to be here and to share, myself with you. I've been an artist for my whole life, basically, and I'm really thankful for my parents who are watching, who didn't have much, but always encouraged me to do what I loved, even though they knew it wouldn't be easy. And I thank God for moments like these, moments I, again, get to speak to you, share myself, and then share my work. There was a time where I was nervous to speak about topics that I'm passionate about, out of fear of offending someone or people shying away from me because they may not agree. But that certainly isn't the case anymore. I continue to create work about nonviolence, racism, civil rights, police brutality, identity, and the family. Because of this and my parents and mentors and your support, in a year I've gone from working at Shake Shack down the street from here and having my dear friend Chris come and visit me for a discount. And doing that to pay for school. Going from there to speaking all over the world about my people and speaking about how and why Black lives matter. So we're going to jump right into the presentation. Let's see, we're about 10 minutes behind. So I apologize if I seem like I'm rushing through it. I'm not rushing, I just want to, we have a lot to cover. And I do want to have time to take questions afterwards. So in 2012, I started a series which is now called Colorism. And in these images, you see photographs I made of 3 women that I went to school with in undergrad. The project began with the idea of natural. What did that mean for Black women? In undergrad, I started to see a trend of women cutting off their hair and going natural, and it was kind of like a movement, so I wanted to photograph that. But the project was very surface level. As I got deeper into the project, I noticed the differences in opinion, in opinions about how skin tones were being connected to hair texture, and it seemed to be a problem. During the same year, I began to do work for the Martin Luther King Center here in Atlanta. So I traveled here from North Carolina to do that work. And while I was there, I learned something that had a huge impact on my life, and that was Kingian nonviolence, which is now called Nonviolence 365. This was a method of nonviolent problem solving that Martin Luther King taught the civil rights leaders, and this is why the movement was so successful. But anyhow, one important step in this method is information gathering, and we spent the most time learning about information gathering, learning about getting all of the sides to the story, and hearing out everybody's opinion. A method that is, of course, used in documentary photography, or should be, right? So when I decided to take another approach to colorism when I got back to North Carolina and then back here to Atlanta to start school at Savannah College of Art and Design. I wanted to gather more information. I started to collect anything that had to do with this topic. I gathered video clips that had to do with self-image and colorism. I started to look back at what I grew up watching on television with my mother and comparing it to what we may watch now.
I can say that nothing their loved ones can say will change the fact that they feel trapped inside hideously ugly faces and bodies. Our next guest, Alicia, says that in her case, the reason she feels so ugly is because her mom, Essie, made her feel that way. Alicia, tell us your story.
Actually, all my life I felt ugly because of my dark complexion. When I was younger, my mom would make differences between my sister and I. She would dress us in outfits that were similar and alike, but she would comment on how pretty or nice she looked, but I never got the same comment. And also in school, when we were referred to, we would both get in trouble. And when I get in trouble, she get in trouble too. They would refer to me as the dark one instead of the light one.
But it's easy for me to say that. This is something that you, when I would hate to call it struggle with, but for you, it's a struggle.
It's something I struggled with for a long time, being this dark. I mean, in high school, being called names, you know, like for
High school in America.
High school in America. For example, being called African booty scratcher, which I later find out mean I scratch myself and I eat whatever left off because I'm so hungry.
You got to explain what you're saying to me, girlfriend, because I don't understand really a word that came out of your mouth.
Basically, society categorized me as black, but I don't see myself as black. I'm not black. I don't want to be black. Being black has been a curse. Being born black has been a curse.
If we are the same shade, then that means you're calling yourself dirty.
Please, who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate, you should ask yourself who taught you to hate being what God gave you.
What's colorism?
A spin-off of racism.
Valuing literally skin color.
Colorism was something that plantation owners used as an instrument to divide and conquer their own enslaved persons.
How so?
By extending to lighter-skinned enslaved persons more privileges. And it was a way to get those lighter-skinned black folks to be more likely to side with the owner if there was a slave rebellion planned.
So that was slave days, and yet today people will tell you that colorism is as relevant as ever before. Do you believe that?
If you spend hundreds of years propagandizing your citizenry that color is connected to intelligence, that color is connected to beauty, that color is connected to ethics and values and morality, it's obviously not going to suddenly change just because the system that created that mentality changes. The mentality is in place.
Creams made to lighten skin with dangerous side effects.
This is straight up illegal.
They're being sold illegally in our neighborhoods.
Surprisingly, you can find these illegal bleaching creams almost anywhere.
What to look for and how to protect yourself. Tonight at 11.
When black people like me talk to the slaves, they didn't kill him. They'd send some old house Negro along behind him to undo what he said. You have to read the history of slavery to understand this. There were two kinds of Negroes. There was that old house Negro and the field Negro.
The business.
I like a long hair, thick, red pound.
Got a light-skinned friend, look like Michael Jackson. Got a dark-skinned friend, look like Michael Jackson.
Brown skin, you know I love your brown skin.
What skin color do you want? Do you remember which one you said?
Yeah, that one.
Which one?
This one, yeah.
How about you? Why do you want that skin color?
Because it looks lighter than this kind, because this looks a lot like that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't like the way brown looks, because the way brown looks really nasty for some reason, but I don't know what reason. That's all.
Well, show me the ugly child. And why is she the ugly child?
Because she's black.
Show me the dumb child.
Dumb child.
Okay, why is she the dumb child?
Because she has black skin.
Show me the bad child. Why is he the bad child?
Because he's really dark.
Show me the dumb child. Why is she the dumb child?
Because she looks black.
Show me the child who has the skin color most adults like. And show me the child who has the skin color most adults don't like.
When you think about skin color, what do you think?
I think it's kind of magical because I think, like, we're not all the same, we're different. And it doesn't really matter what color you are, it just matters what you're like inside. Yeah, your color is kind of who you are. It makes you you.
They're getting a lot of negative feedback through elementary school and adolescence. And I think if you have that kind of experience and you have it repeatedly over a number of years, your optimism is going to decline.
We didn't even do nothing. Well, you think you tough. You look so tough now, little nigga. Hate you black bastards. You stink. I hate your black skin. I hate your black pants. I hate black pepper. I hate black keys on the piano. I hate my gums because they black. I hate Whoopi Goldberg's lips. I hate the back of Forrest Whitaker's neck. Ah! And most of all, I hate that black-ass Wesley Snipes. Move it!
Riri, open up!
The word is excuse me.
Nobody told you to stand in the hall either. Excuse me.
That's better, Miss Thing.
It's not real.
Say what? You heard. It ain't even real.
You wish you had hair like this.
Girl, you know you weren't even born with blue eyes.
That's right. Blue contact lenses.
They're just jealous.
Right.
Jealous.
Rachel, I've been watching you look at Julian. You're not slick.
If that was true, he wasn't much to look at.
Tell me.
Pickaninny. Barbie doll. High yellow heifer.
Tar baby. Wanna be white, jigaboo.
Don't stop.
I've seen it on both ends of the spectrum. I've seen it from the light skin, and I've seen it from the dark skin. I've seen it from the darker of the darkest, like my auntie, who was very much darker than everyone else in our household. I remember they used to make fun of her, like my uncles and my brother. They would kind of like joke with her, and I was the chubby one, and my brother was a skinny one, so we used to be called Fat, Black, and Bone.
Dear Lupita, it reads, I think You're really lucky to be this black, but yet this successful in Hollywood overnight. I was just about to buy Dentures Whitenicious Cream to lighten my skin when you appeared on the world map and saved me. My heart bled a little when I read those words. I could never have guessed that my first job out of school would be so powerful in and of itself, and that it would propel me to be such an image of hope in the same way that the women of the color purple were to me. I remember a time when I too felt unbeautiful. I put on the TV and only saw pale skin. I got teased and taunted about my night-shaded skin. And my one prayer to God, the miracle worker, was that I would wake up lighter-skinned. The morning would come and I would be so excited about seeing my new skin that I would refuse to look down at myself until I was in front of a mirror because I wanted to see my fair face first. And every day I experienced the same disappointment of being just as dark as I had been the day before. I tried to negotiate with God. I told him I would stop stealing sugar cubes at night if he gave me what I wanted. I would listen to my mother's every word, sitting right there, and never lose my school sweater again if he just made me a little lighter. But I guess God was unimpressed with my bargaining chips because he never listened. And when I was a teenager, my self-hate grew worse. As you can imagine, happens with adolescence. My mother reminded me often that she thought I was beautiful. But that was no consolation. She's my mother. Of course she's supposed to think I'm beautiful. And then Alec Weck came.
I believe it starts at a young age, and that's something that we as black people, I believe, really need to work on. We're teaching our children that you can't look at a person or judge a person based on what they look like or what their color is.
I think what you're trying to ask is why am I so insistent upon giving out to them that blackness, that black power, that black pushing them to identify with black culture. I think that's what you're asking. I have no choice over it. In the first place, to me, we are the most beautiful creatures in the whole world, black people.
So yeah, such an overwhelming topic, and I think when we put all of these images and videos together at one time, it really conveys how much of a problem, this topic still is. We may hear a light-skinned joke and a dark-skinned joke here and there, but when it's all together, we really see how much of an impact it's making, a negative impact, rather, right? But what if there were more positive images? And what if there was more information about how to change this mindset and this perception of people of color in our skin, all our different skin shades. Me, in my family, I have 4 brothers, and we're all different skin tones, ranging. My smallest brother is, very, very light, ranging to my oldest brother, he's my father's shade, which is, darker. So how is each child in the same family dealing with this colorism issue, or not dealing with it, rather, right? And so after a long time of collecting these images and researching, I began to take photographs again, or make photographs again. And so I dove back into the portrait project, which is colorism. And then also interviewing women of color and getting their thoughts and having, giving them a platform to share their stories about their experiences with colorism. But more importantly, I definitely wanted these more positive images, these beautiful women, to be overwhelming, just like that, all of that negative content. And so the way that I display these portraits are, all together here. And there's a lot more than this. And my goal or my vision still hasn't been, I guess, brought to life yet, in having the space to show, 100 portraits all together, and not, not in a range from light to dark, like a scale of important to, not important, but mixed in. And so here we go. So here was 6 that I had the opportunity to exhibit in Savannah, in some places here in Atlanta. And so, after that, well, that colorism is still a work in progress. I think it will always be. I always think of all my projects as a work in progress. I don't know if that's a problem or not, but whatever. I also began to think about the civil rights movement. I've been heavily involved in the civil rights movement since working at the King Center and starting nonviolent organizations. But now I've seen it come into my work more so within the past, let's say, 5 years. And so after Selma, this photo essay depicts the overwhelming emotion of an event heavy with symbolism, nostalgia, pride, hope for the future, and humanity. As a people, we aspire to achieve equal rights and justice in America for all African Americans. And also for the past year, I began to travel the South, photographing multiple events and demonstrations, most done in Atlanta, Montgomery, Selma, and South Carolina.
Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We shall all be free. We shall all be free. We shall all be free someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I believe. I do believe we shall overcome someday. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. No, we are not afraid. We are not afraid. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe. I
after Selma, you'll see a lot of, you know, different generations together, marching together. And I thought that was very important. That's something that we don't hear often, I guess, in mainstream media, that we have, you know, original foot soldiers. That last photograph, you know, that woman, she marched in the march from Selma to Montgomery. And now right behind her, you have a Black Lives Matter banner. So, you know, what is that saying? So after Selma, you know, where are we now? That was my main point to get across with that project. That's why it's in black and white. I wanted to embody, you know, the photographs of Moneta Sleet, civil rights photographer, and one of, you know, my heroes, Roy DeCarava. And so, also, more recently, in New York City, right? And so, sadly, these tragedies, these murders, these injustices are still happening. And unfortunately, the work continues, right? Definitely very emotional. You know, people just rushed out into the streets. You know, as I did. That was when, if I say his name wrong, Philando Castile was murdered. I was traveling, and as soon as I landed, I got, you know, that news. And so plans changed when I arrived. You know, I went to do other work, you know. But I ended up spending my time in the streets, documenting. And so this brings me to my most recent project, Come to Selfhood. Come to Selfhood. It's sad that we live in a world and in a country where an African-American man can be stopped 30 times in less than 4 years, and with none of those stops resulting in citation or a criminal charge. We live in a country where 2 murders of African-American men happen back-to-back, live on Facebook. Philando Castile and Alton Sterling. Then, recently, Facebook shutting down the page of Corian Gaines before she was murdered. I also think of Orlando, the mass shooting at the Pulse nightclub, and the fact that people still fail to realize that Black and Latino LGBT lives also matter. And so with this project, I wanted to explore the idea of identity and masculinity and what that really meant here in America. And the only way to do that is to go to African-American men, men of color, Black men, and ask them, right? And get their experiences and get their stories and have them share. I'm Joshua Rashaad McFadden, and I'm a photographic artist. Right now I'm working on a project called Come to Selfhood, and it's about African-American males and their identities and what they think about identity and masculinity in the now, in this contemporary, time. Come to Selfhood it's a two-part project. It's Come to Selfhood and then Selfhood, and the first part, Come to Selfhood, deals with young men having a come-to moment, really coming to a sense of identity, and how do you come to that, based upon role models, based upon history, and also based on experiences. And so Come to Selfhood is really reflection and thoughts about masculinity, thoughts about identity. And so I think that's very interesting to think about. Okay, well, how did I come to this being? How did I become who I am? The good parts of me and the not so good parts, or whatever you want to consider. All these aspects of your personality. And so then we move into Selfhood, and these images are of the male, the man, by himself, and standing strong within his identity.
My name is Jeremiah Thompson. I'm a dancer from Orlando, Florida. Never had I had to think about my own masculinity and what it means to myself, because you just kind of develop it. You just keep adding on. You don't really really reflect. In answering the questions, it brought up a lot of emotion. Some sad moments where I was like, wow. Growing up kind of with a spotty father figure, I don't want to say he was completely absent. It made me angry at my dad while answering that question, or it made me angry at my mom for answering the question, or angry at myself for not portraying my full self, or not having that level of comfortability within myself to go there. It took me out of myself to see it and really acknowledge who I am as a black man in this country.
Black male, we have a standard that we have to live up to, even though society, a lot of us come from broken homes, or just not the experience. We still have a standard as men, as masculinity, and what's defined. And to me, thank God I have the parents and the upbringing that I do, that I was able to define my masculinity. I got a lot of my grandmother traits, a lot of my uncle traits, and and as black men, sometimes, especially being educated, going into certain situations where we are the minority. We are the culture shock. We're the only light sometimes, especially theater. If you go to New York and I do theater, it's a type. You're typed and that's it. And to me, that isn't necessarily right, but that's the way society kind of defines it.
What it means to be masculine is what you as a male decide. If you decide that, hey, this thing that I want to do is masculine, and that's masculine. It's not a fact of, oh, this is masculine, this is feminine. A lot of that is gray. There's a lot of in-between conversation that needs to be had about that. One thing that I've noticed throughout history, once black people get some type of right, then usually a lot of other movements follow through and also rise up as well. So honestly, I feel like if everybody just pitched in to help the human movement, not just I'm LGBT, I'm black, I'm a feminist, I'm all of that.
And so you heard a little bit about the interviews that I conducted with the men, and reflecting on those questions that I asked. What do you think about masculinity? Who are you? In America, which may be a very tough question to ask, and it really forces us to self-reflect. And that's the only way you come to a sense of self. Come to selfhood, right? So, in the project, I'm exploring and providing a frame of reference that visually articulates the numerous identities of young black men by exploring the ideas of history, role models, and experience, and how these elements shape the black male identity. The goal is to make the previously invisible black man accurately and meaningfully visible. And so here you see that we are educators, right? If you look at this young man's grandfather, right? and then you read what he has to say. You know, I am a black nerd, and my hero and the ideal figure of masculinity is Green Lantern, right? Joy, you see black joy, joy within black males, which is not often shown either. Going out, getting dressed up, going to, I guess what's now is a club, but back then it was a disco. This is a young man's father, here in Atlanta, actually. The right to bear arms. Serving our country. Taking care of our children. And legacy. So, I encourage everyone, I guess I encourage you all to think about how our actions impact others. You know, who are we? You know, who are we really? And who are we denying ourselves to be, right? And then how does that impact others? And so, and then when we really realize that, we're able to help, we're able to go out on the front lines, you know, and march. Because as you saw in the protest, you know, videos, there are people of all shades and all colors, but that's because they know who they are. And knowing who you are means you know what you stand for. Thank you.
Can you hear me? How's everybody doing? My name is Michael Wynn. I'm the Community Engagement Manager here at the Alliance Theater, and thank you all for coming out to hear this wonderful presentation. And we're going to have a Q&A with Josh right now. Wow, great presentation. It's so funny. I was thinking back there, like, first of all, this show got me all up in my feelings right now. And I know it probably got y'all up in there, in yours too. I remember in high school, like when, I won't say I came out, but I just stopped fighting the word faggot after a while. I was just like tired of people calling me, and I was tired of fighting about it. I remember these girls, a girl told me, came up to me and was like, "Oh, so you gay, huh? That's a whole lot of yellow wasted," was what she told me. And I feel like that this presentation made me really understand, I mean, all the different directions that particular comment came from, you know, like color, sexuality, and all that. So like, thanks so much for like helping me understand that. But this is not about me. This is about you guys, and this is a Q&A for you guys to ask Joshua some questions. So if you have any questions, please raise your hands. So, no? Anybody? So if you don't have questions, I got questions. So one, and you've probably been asked this several thousand times, but like, who are your biggest, as an artist, like who are your influences, and like who are those people that like made you know that you could do this?
Oh, wow. Well, first, I guess, again, it would be my parents.
Yeah.
Growing up, I didn't know of many black artists.
Okay.
And I didn't really have a lot of heroes that were artists growing up because it just wasn't taught, unfortunately.
Yeah.
However, when I guess towards the end of undergraduate school and then graduate school, I began to learn, about different artists. Way back to Roy DeCarava, which is, my favorite photographer, and Moneta Sleep, and then more contemporary artists and historians. My mentors, Lyle Ashton Harris, Deborah Willis, Hank Willis Thomas. People I look up to, and I identify with.
And you ask a lot of questions, like in your work, which is really interesting. When you did after Selma, I guess if you want to compare that, what happened in Selma, the marches and whatnot, compared to what's happening now, in Black Lives Matter. Have you thought about where they connect or where they don't?
The civil rights movement and
Black Lives Matter.
Yes, I have thought about that a lot, and you see it. It's very obvious. The first thing would be technology. It's just a whole new age, and we can't expect every generation to be the same because that's just not how things happen. However, there needs to be understanding.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is needed.
Yeah.
I think that's what is needed.
And how you deal with the fatigue that, I know, recently, and I know you talked about Philander Smith and the two people who we saw get killed on national TV. And, we've had constant, as Black people, we see that constantly now. Somebody died on TV. Somebody showed me this video of this person dying. Somebody showed me video of this person dying. And they want a reaction, and from you, and you want to react, but I guess there's a point when there is just fatigue, from it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, you become, you don't want to become numb to it, but you do. And with the technology, it's just constantly in your feed, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't have known about any of these things. Happening. It's very, we're very fortunate to have these things happen, so we can do something about it. And these uprisings and the protests, they are working. It's bringing attention, and it's applying, pressure.
Yeah.
Right. With now there's investigations going on and so on and so forth. I think there was one investigation in Baltimore that came out today. That was one of the quotes I used. As far as the one man being stopped 30 times, and it being proven that it was for no reason. And so, you could get numb to it, but that's only if you allow yourself to.
Yeah. So, how did it feel walking along the Beltline and seeing all your pictures of colorism?
It felt great. I'm sorry I didn't have a picture up there for you guys to see it. It felt really great. I got a lot of feedback, and I got a lot of emails thank you, and this needs to be seen, and I got pages and pages.
And these are girls you knew, these are girls you went to school with, you knew?
Oh yeah, most of them in the project,
Yes.
First of all, thank you for sharing your work.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. On the note of colorism, I wonder about how much, the access points that exist within other cultures. My perspective comes from the Asian colorism, and the difference between how we deal with things internally, both as human beings, but in our cultures, and then how we externalize it. So how we act within our communities, but then how those communities act with each other to connect that idea of colorism that really transcends beyond just, one culture. And if you had conversation or thoughts about that.
Oh yeah, certainly. Because colorism, happens with all people of color. Not just Black people. It's so, it's such a wide span, and a huge topic, and I guess a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
And I thought, this would be the best way to start But I have spoken to people of other cultures. I thought about, well, how could we, do this, in another country, or bring, a kind of forum together. And I've held forums to where anybody could come and really just talk. And I continue to hold those forums until, we can get enough momentum and we can impact more people and get more feedback. But surprisingly, colorism is my most controversial project because I think it just brings up so many feelings. And it's always attached. You'll find that that's attached to these other issues, like you said. It's like you light skin and then blah 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 blah. Now it's in and it's attached. So why is that attached to all of these other issues? And so it's like, okay, let's draw back. Let's start there. And that's why I actually started with color. That was my first project my first large project that I undertook.
I remember my grandmother was very fair, and my grandfather was very dark, and like she had like a rainbow of kids right now. But like in my hometown, they were most people thought she was white. I mean, she was a nurse like in the 40s, so she passed as white until they saw my grandfather, and then there was a big drama in the whole town just about like why would she be with him, or why it was just really really amazing. Another question. Over. Yep.
When I look at the images and the narrative about behind the images, I understand it because it speaks to an experience of my life. How does the work translate to people who don't come to the work with an experience with colorism? Do you have to explain it? Is it immediately understood, or is it not an issue? Is there no issue at all with it? Is it universally understood?
No, it isn't. I get all of that. It's like I don't understand it. I understand it. I kind of get it. I don't think it's a problem. Yeah, I've gotten all of that, and that has. It used to be a problem for me, but now it's like, well, no. You make the work and you share it, and it touches the people that it needs to, and it may inform people that may not know about this issue. We can't expect them to know it about it. Just like I didn't know about these artists that I do now know about, right? But I was taught, and so now that I've shown the project, I'm sure there's some people who don't quite get it. But I guess it's up to you to ask if you don't get it, right?
Thank you.
On the piece regarding masculinity, did you get any pushback or unwillingness to share or be transparent? If so, could you share some of those experiences in the process of creating that work and how that affected each subject that was portrayed?
You know what? That was the only project I got no pushback. Everybody participated that I asked. I think because of the time we're in, people were ready to say something. And that was surprising for me because it is a touchy topic, and I don't, with my projects, they're, very touchy and personal projects, and so I don't like to push people to do it. However, like with colorism, there was, some people, like, okay, I'm not ready to talk about it. But with Come to Selfhood, everybody was all for it.
How did the men in your family react to Come to Selfhood?
The what thing?
The men in your family.
Oh, the men in my family?
Come to Selfhood.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I have all brothers, and my father, and then I have two godbrothers, just it's all, and I have two nephews now. So, all boys. It's just my mother. So I met, my mother, we drove her crazy. But they responded very well. Okay. They liked the project. My father loves the project. And the last picture you saw, that was my father in the brown suit, and then my grandfather. So his father.
Was there any fear that they wouldn't
like the project?
Would like the project, or did you knew them, so you?
I think, well, with me, I had fear of starting the project. I wanted to do that project since, and you'll read that in the book, since 2012, actually, when Trayvon Martin was murdered. Is when I really started thinking about, the black hoodie and then the image, right? He was killed because of his image. And I was like, what? Wait. I was 18, so I'm just getting to college, it's like free. And it was also the time where I just started getting stopped by the police. Yeah. And I probably got stopped 5 times in 1 year. Towards the end of, so 2012, my senior year. And surprisingly enough, then Trayvon Martin was killed.
That's good.
And so I was like, wow, you know, it really made me start to think about what we wear. You know, I wear hoodies. My little brothers, you know, in their generation, and you know what they wear. It's all of us.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and so, but I didn't start the project until 2015.
Wow.
Because I was too nervous, like, you know, what I said in the beginning of the project, like I didn't know what I was talking about, you know, just, you know, get over it type thing. The whole idea of respectability politics, which totally doesn't, you know, is crap. It doesn't, you know, none of that is gonna, you know. But anyways, you know what I mean? So I think really the fear was within myself. I didn't really, when I do a project, I really don't care
about what's happening.
Yeah, I just want to do it. However, if there's any fears within, you know, myself,
Do you have a question?
Your work is incredible.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to ask you, how did you develop a love for photography? What was the beginning for you?
Good question. Well, I've always been an artist, but more so painting and drawing and charcoal. What is my, you know, favorite medium, or was, or still is, kind of, you know, whatever. But I've always taken photos too. I didn't see it as an art is the issue. My mother got me my first camera. I was about 7. It was viewfinder. It had the little viewfinder at the top, little you know, the rectangle ones. Yeah. So those, she got me one of those.
Rangefinder.
Right. And so got me one of those, and I was always taking photos of my family.
Yeah.
Photos of my family. But we didn't see that as, you know, something that could be in the museum, like others are, right? However, when I was finishing undergrad, I was introduced to photography as an art. And my senior year, when I started colorism, is when I started experimenting with making photographs. And then I went to grad school for photography. When I got to grad school, I learned of Deborah Willis again, right? And she had, you know, these books. Books full of, you know, black people. You know, and photographs taken, you know, in the 1800s, you know. And that really kind of changed my perspective. It really did. And so that's really what caused me to love, you know, photography so much.
It's an amazing moment, right, when you just discover the beauty of black people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that they belong in books too.
Right.
You know, I mean, and that is kind of a moment you have to come to. I mean, just in like, I mean, I tell stories, but it's just like our stories. Like when you realize it should be chronicled, and that, you know, that's something that's amazing. We have time for one more question.
I wonder if, you know, any work in race often invites the Fox News type response. You know, I wonder if, you know, your stuff is out there on the internet and everything. Do you ever get like a reactionary kind of response? And just how do you deal with that? Do you have use nonviolent communication or any?
Oh, as far as responding?
Dealing with that? Or?
Yeah, I've gotten that before, but I've always gotten that. In undergrad, I had an organization, Students Against Nonviolence Everywhere, but we also, you know, fought for, of course, human rights. Again, we did a lot of voters registration, so on and so forth, and we worked on the President Obama's campaign. We got a lot of backlash from that, and so I think that prepared me for, you know, comments about the work that kind of, you know, rose right off my back, especially with Come to Selfhood. Recently, well, it was written about a couple of times, and on one of the outlets, it got a lot of comments, you know, that weren't very nice. You know, they didn't make sense. So anything, you know, as far as racist comments, I mean, I can't really take it seriously. I mean, because again, like I said, you only can have racist comments when you don't know who you are, you know?
Yeah. No, that might have been last.
Last
one more.
one.
No, one more.
Okay, fine.
One more.
One
One
more.
more. Right in the
That's
back.
it.
Okay.
Okay.
George's gonna hit me, but yes, go ahead.
First of all, I want to say thank you for the explanation of your work.
Thank you.
I would like to ask you, what is the spiritual aspect of your work?
Oh. Well, great question.
Good question.
Let's see. Well, I'll start here. My grandfather inspired Come to Selfhood. Yes, he did. And it's dedicated to him. He passed away my senior year of college again. It was really interesting. So it was like, getting pulled over, Trayvon Martin. The week of my graduation, he passed away. And so he was really adamant about education. He was a pastor, of our church, so my family has a church in Rochester, New York. And so that, Christianity, religion, and, God is really instilled into my family and into me. And so it's in all over my work. I think so. I know so.
Awesome. I think that's a really great note to end on. Thank you so much. You have such a wonderful voice, a wonderful eye, and pretty great hair too, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.